Today I'm going to show you how to use geometry to create a kaleidoscope drawing. Now, many of you are familiar with kaleidoscopes. This is a toy that many kids play with when they're young, and there's a place to look in right there, and then inside are all sorts of beads and other things. When you turn this, combined with the different colors here and shine it in the light, you get a lot of different pictures, and the pictures will move, they'll change. Basically what's happening inside of a kaleidoscope is there are mirrors in there, and the mirrors are creating reflections, and it's reflecting those different colored beads in all different patterns. As you turn the end of the kaleidoscope and look through the window, and you'll see that those colors will just shine through, right? So the mirrors are creating these reflections. So what we're going to do today is figure out how to create our own drawings that will look similar to kaleidoscope drawings, where we're going to have the idea of reflected sections in our drawing. So first I'm going to start out by showing you some examples, and then I'll walk you through the steps to how to create your own. So in our kaleidoscope drawings, you can create a kaleidoscope drawing that has 6 pieces to it. If you look at this and see how it looks like it has 6 pieces of pie or 6 pieces of pizza, whatever you like to think of that as. So this one has 6 pieces, and what we would do is fill in the shapes in one of those sections and then reflect them over each of these lines of reflection. So each of the lines that separate your slices is going to act like a line of reflection. So we'll take the shapes in one section and reflect them over that line into the new section. And we'll do that and make our way all the way around until we get our full kaleidoscope drawing. And you can see that it'll form some different shapes, right? So we've got these yellow lines that seem to kind of blend together. We've got the red ones that come together and look like they make a triangle. If you look at a single section, we only have a semicircle here, but when we reflect that over our line of reflection, we end up getting a full circle. So you might get some shapes that that maybe you didn't expect when you start reflecting them over your lines of reflection. Here's another example. Okay, this one also had 6 slices, and if you take a look at just one piece, if I use a piece of paper here to show you what just one piece looked like, okay, there was one piece of the kaleidoscope, right? One piece of the pizza. And then when we reflect those over this line of reflection here, and we get another piece, right? And then we take those and we reflect those over that next line of reflection, and we work our way all the way around until we get the full picture. Here's another example. Now this one uses 8 sections. We've got 8 slices of pizza in this one, right? 4 on each side, another 4 over here. So if you take a look at just one of those sections, let's see if I can line this up like that. So there was one section. There are a lot of shapes going on there. It's very busy. But when you start to reflect those shapes over a line of reflection, some of those shapes start to come together, right? So when we just had the one piece here, notice we had this blue squiggle line, we had this red section up here, we had this yellow one over here, but when I reflect that over that line of reflection, now that blue squiggle line matches up with another one over here, and it makes kind of a neat design, a neat pattern. And then you see what were the red pieces over here, now reflected over that line of reflection, create these over here, and now it almost looks like a little heart. And then same thing down here with that yellow piece. So as you continue to do that and you go around and reflect them over that next line of reflection, you'll get more and more of your design coming through. One more example. This one was pretty intricate. This one also used 8 sections instead of 6. And they had a lot of, like in one section, they would have just put like one of these petals in there, right? But then as you reflect those over, you'll end up getting more and more. So it ended up with like a pretty interesting flower design. And same thing with what looks like these spike patterns around here. So as those got reflected into each section, it just created this interesting, almost plant-like design. All right, so let's look at creating our own design. So what we're going to do is we need to start with a compass, and you're going to need to try to approximate the center of your paper. So let's see, I need to close my compass a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to dig my compass in. So that moved on me. There we go. I'm going to dig my compass in so I've got a good center point in my paper, and I'm going to use the compass to make a circle. Draw my circle nice and dark all the way around. If you want to put a pen in your compass to make that a darker line, that's fine, you can do that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and find that center point that I just used. I'm going to put a little dot there. The center point is pretty important and I don't want to lose it. Now what I'm going to do is draw in a diameter. So I'm going to line up that center point with the two sides of my circle and just draw in a diameter. It doesn't matter if you draw in that diameter going up and down or side to side. All that matters is that it goes through the center of your circle. So what we're doing right now is we're dividing up our circle into those 6 sections. I'm going to do one with 6, not 8. If you want to do one with 8, you can do that. You'll just need to make sure that you're dividing it into 8 sections evenly. The way that we divide it into 6 sections evenly is, now that we have that divided in half, we think about a circle has 360 degrees. And if I want to make 6 sections, 360 degrees divided by 6 is going to give me 60 degrees. So I'm going to take my protractor now and put the center of my circle into that little opening in my protractor. I'm going to line up that diameter along with the line in my protractor, and I'm going to measure 60 degrees. 60 degrees here and 60 degrees here. All I need to do is just have that on one side of my circle, and I'll use my ruler and we'll make those lines go all the way through. So now it's about matching up the points, the center of my circle with that 60-degree mark. Draw that in nice and dark, and then one more down here, the center of the circle with this other mark down here that was another 60 degrees. All right, so now I should have 6 equal sections in my pie. Now to create your kaleidoscope drawing, what you're going to do is start with just one section. Don't start drawing in all of the sections, just start in one section. Start putting in some designs. Put in 5 or 6 designs into that one section. Once you have that done, then we'll work on reflecting those over a line of reflection, fill in the next piece, right? And we'll work our way all the way around until we have the whole thing filled in. So I'm going to start with, let's see, I think I'll start with a line here. I'm going to make a triangle. Don't want it to be an equilateral, and do that. I'll make a triangle right there. Let's see, I think I've got stencils here, and I think I want to use the stencils. I'm going to just do a scalloped edge, I think, along one side. Maybe I'll do it along this side here. Along the side of my triangle. You can use stencils, you can use just a ruler, you can use your compass again, you could bring in your protractor, whatever you want to do. Let's bring this all the way down to here. I might even do that. I'm going to bring my compass back in. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and let's see, maybe I'll make a small circle right here. that. Let's see, down here, what else do I want to do? I think we'll connect with that triangle, do something over there, and let's see, maybe I'm going to use this paper that I cut out. You can use anything. You can use stencils again. You can cut out some shapes on a piece of paper and trace some of those. You can just freehand it. You can get creative. You can take a bottle cap and trace that. Whatever you want to use. And let's see. Maybe I'll try one more thing. Over here, I'll connect this spot right here. Put something in there like that. Actually, I want to make it a little bit more different from that side of my triangle. Make that a sharper angle. All right, so once I've got everything in there, and I've got my one spot the way that I like it, right? I've put in several different lines, several designs. You've got lots of different shapes going on there. Now I'm just going to start to reflect these one at a time over into the next section. Now if I used my compass, that's pretty easy. Remember that I used the compass over here to make this angle. It looks like my compass kind of moved on me a little bit, and make sure that I've got that to the same setting as I had it before. There we go, that looks like the same, right? So I had made that there. So if I were to reflect this over my line of reflection, it would look like a mirror image, right? I should have the same arc going over here as I had going on that side. Okay, so I've got my new arc, and this one is my mirrored reflection of that arc over there. And then I've got, let's see, I've got this nice long piece right here. So one thing I can do is I can measure that, because when I'm doing this line of reflection, remember that whatever you are reflecting, you want that point up there, this point up here, you want it to be the same distance across that line of reflection. So you think about that perpendicular distance to the line of reflection, and then you go the same distance across to the other side. An easy way to do that, though, when we're doing a drawing like this, is to think about how far along this line is it before you meet up with this line and this line right here. Where is that point? And as I reflect that over my line of reflection here, I know that that's going to be over on this line. So I can measure this distance here and copy that same distance over here. So if I measure that, let's see, that looks like it's about 2 1/4. So I'm going to take my ruler over here, go 2 1/4. So I know that I can connect this point here to the one that I just put on my paper, and that's going to give me a mirrored reflection of this triangle right here. Now I've got this long triangle here, right? So those are reflections over my line of reflection right here. Another one that would be pretty easy is this one right here. So if this is the line that I'm trying to reflect, and this is on the line of reflection, right? So that point's going to stay where it is. But this point up here, remember that that was the same as where this one ended. So that's going to go right to here. I can connect those two. All right, what else? Let's see. I can do this one pretty easily, right? So I'm going to measure, maybe I'll measure from the top down. Okay, right there. So I'll bring that over here. I've got that same distance there. And then also, so this point would reflect over a line of reflection and hit here. And now I need to find this point. So that's going to come and hit on this part of my circle, right? So I could measure how far that is. Just a little over 3/4. inch. So I'm going to come over here. And right about there. So I'll connect those two. Okay, so now I've got that little triangle reflected. So I might look at this little squiggle that I've got here. So that came in from, let's see, how did I have this positioned? I had that right there. So if I think about line of reflection, mirror image, that's going to be flipped over. Okay. So think about that, flipping that over right there. See, I had made a little mark on the other side. I just want to make sure that those match up. And then I'm basically just going to be tracing that right there. Okay, so now I've got that. So now I need to put this triangle together, right? And I've got this point out here. So I can do this a few different ways. I might use my compass to help figure out some distances, but I can also use my ruler and I can use my protractor to help figure out an angle, right? So if I bring in my protractor and I measure this angle right here, okay, this angle is going to be reflected down over here. This angle would be reflected right here. You can do it either way. You could measure this angle and reflect it over here, or you can do this angle and reflect that over here. I think I'm going to look at this one. It's a little bit bigger. It might be a little bit easier to measure that. Get that lined up. And I'm going to use my ruler to try to get as accurate as possible. Okay, so that looks like about 53 degrees. So I'll come down here. Get that on there. And I want about 53 degrees. So make that little mark. Even though that mark is on the outside of my circle, it's okay because I can connect the dots, right? I'm going to line that up with this spot right here. Now, the thing I didn't measure is I didn't measure how far out does it go, right? So now I gotta take my ruler again. At least I've got the angle, so I know that it's gonna go out in this direction. So now I'm gonna take my ruler and just measure how far was this piece right here. And it looks like that was just shy of an inch. So come over here. And just shy of an inch right there. So I can erase the rest of that. And now connect that point of my triangle to this point over here. So there we've got that reflected. And we've got to bring out the stencil. Okay, so now we're going to use that stencil and just go right along the top of this. And I had my stencil start right there, and then I just tried to keep the bumps level with the top of my drawing all the way out, all the way up to this point here. There we go. So then I checked to make sure, did I reflect everything? It looks like I did. I've got this triangle and the skinny triangle. Again, this is my line of reflection. I've got that curve, that's reflected. I've got these pieces, this triangle here. We've got the triangles up in the corners. We've got that scalloped edge on both sides. And then we've got that piece of a circle here reflected over here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore what I started with. Okay, I want to ignore the one that I started with, and now I'm just going to focus on this one right here. And I'm going to reflect everything from this piece now over into this piece. right? So take everything here. This is my new line of reflection. I'm going to take everything here and reflect it over into this section now. Okay, so you can watch as I do this. I'm not going to talk my way through it quite as much, but you can see what I'm doing. I've got this, and I'm going to have it as the same, open that up to that same setting. Now, if this is my line of reflection, this will be reflected down over here, right? The farther something is from your line of reflection in the pre-image, the image is going to be that far over, the distance will be the same on this side of that line of reflection. So if this is far on this side of the line of reflection, its image will be far on this side of the line of reflection. So now we have these pieces reflected over this line of reflection. Okay. We've got the piece of a circle here and the piece of a circle here, and again, line of reflection. We've got the two skinny triangles on either side of that. We've got the two curves. We've got these triangles here. And if you go a little bit past it as you're trying to figure out measurements, that's okay. Just go back and erase any lines that still might show. And then we're going to color this in anyways later, so it won't be a big deal. We've got that scalloped edge there and another one there. And when I see those two together, that almost kind of looks like maybe a butterfly or something like that. And you'll see that as you go through this and you continue to reflect parts of your design over each line of reflection. So now I've got half of the circle done, right? And that's what it's looking like so far. And I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to cover up the rest of it because I don't want to be distracted by all the other designs that I've got. I just want to be focusing on this piece right here, and I'm going to take each of these lines, and this is my new line of reflection. I'm going to take each of these and reflect it over this new line of reflection, right? So this point is going to end up over here. This curve right here, I'm going to get a curve going out this way. Got my scalloped edge here, that's going to come out to this side over here. Got this little triangle piece, that'll reflect out to this corner. So I'm going to keep working along. So now let's take a look at the whole thing all put together. That's a pretty interesting design. All right, so now you just go through and color it. Pick whatever colors you want. But here's the catch. When you're going through and coloring it, you want to make sure that you are coloring the corresponding designs in the same colors. So for example, these skinny triangles here, I want to make sure that I'm coloring those in the same color. And so anytime I've got one of those skinny triangles, those are all going to be the same color. Same thing with these circle parts over here. Because when you reflect it over that line of reflection, think about when you look at something in the mirror, the color reflects with it, right? The color reflects with the shape. So you want to pick whatever color you're going to use and then reflect the same color along with that shape over each line of reflection. go. Now we've got our completed design. And here's what the completed design could look like if you went ahead and outlined it once you were done coloring it. So I used a Sharpie. You could use a Sharpie or any other marker or a nice pen. But it really looks nice if you go back through and outline it afterwards. Just makes those colors really stand out and your design really pop. So I hope you've enjoyed this kaleidoscope drawing project.